वाह, कैमरे की हालत देखो जरा। Hey you everybody, क्या हाल है आप लोगों, कैसे हो सब? खैरियत है? ईरान वॉर अपडेट्स, लेट्स सी क्या हो रहा है दुनिया के अंदर। हेलो, आवाज आ रही है? आवाज आ रही है? आ रही है, आ रही है, बिल्कुल आ रही है। अच्छा जी। ये जी सूदिया का कोई बंदा, सूदिया का बंदा कहता है क्या है? ये कहता है कि इफ मोहम्मद बिन सलमान पिक्स अप द फोन एंड कॉल्स द प्राइम मिनिस्टर और प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान एंड सेज सेंड अस 100,000 सोल्जर्स, कि मोहम्मद बिन सलमान अगर पाकिस्तान के प्राइम मिनिस्टर या उसको चीफ ऑफ आर्मी स्टाफ को बोले कि यार, प्राइम मिनिस्टर को बोले या प्रेसिडेंट को कि यार हमें 1 लाख बंदा भेजो, 1 लाख फौजी भेजो, तो कहते हैं कि 1 मिनट का डिले नहीं होगा, उससे पहले पाकिस्तान के जो लीडरशिप है वो पाकिस्तान की फौजों को यहाँ भेज देगी। और ये कहते हैं कि मेरा पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस है, पाकिस्तान से अगर अगर सऊदी अरब को पाकिस्तान से न्यूक्लियर या नॉन न्यूक्लियर एयर फोर्स की ज़रूरत पड़े तो पाकिस्तान हमें कभी भी अकेला नहीं छोड़ेगा। दिस शोज़ के जो सऊदी अरब की जो इंटेलिजेंसिया है, सऊदी अरब के जो लोग हैं, सऊदी अरब की जो इस्टेब्लिशमेंट है, उसके अंदर कितने एक ट्रस्ट है पाकिस्तान के ऊपर, कि पाकिस्तान को लेके दे थिंक दैट पाकिस्तान इज़ नॉट गोना लीव देम अलोन एवर। एंड वो हमने देखा भी कल मोहम्मद बिन सलमान के जो भाई हैं, जो डिफेंस मिनिस्टर हैं, वो भी शहजादे हैं, उनकी जब उसके साथ मुलाकात हुई आपके आर्मी चीफ के साथ, CDF के साथ, चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस फोर्सेस के साथ, तो उसके अंदर उसके बाद उन्होंने ट्वीट किया, उन्होंने उस ट्वीट के अंदर कहा कि भाई ईरान को चाहिए कि वो कोई भी इस तरह की मिस्टेक ना करे जिससे आपका जो सऊदी अरब का और ईरान के ताल्लुकात हैं वो ख़राब हों और पाकिस्तान को बीच में आना पड़े और पाकिस्तान को ईरान की तरफ से रिटेलिएट करना पड़े। ये नया एक लाइक एक वो था, द चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस फोर्सेस एंड द चीफ ऑफ आर्मी स्टाफ ऑफ पाकिस्तान फील्ड मार्शल आसिम मुनीर रिसीव्ड अ फोन कॉल फ्रॉम द चीफ ऑफ द जनरल स्टाफ ऑफ द टर्किश आर्म्ड फोर्सेस जनरल सेल्जूक बायारा तोकदोगलू। रीजनल इश्यूज एंड म्यूचुअल सिक्योरिटी वर डिस्कस्ड। अच्छा ये है जी, ये है द चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस फोर्सेस and the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan Army Field Marshal Asim Munir arrived on an official military visit to Saudi Arabia। ठीक है जी, आपके जो CDF हैं, फील्ड मार्शल हैं, वो सऊदी अरब गए, वहाँ पे वो सऊदी डिफेंस मिनिस्टर से मिले। उन्होंने कहा कि उसके बाद क्या बातें हुई उसमें, ईरानियन अटैक्स ऑन द किंगडम एंड मेजर्स नीडेड टू हॉल्ट दीज अटैक्स वर डिस्कस्ड। कि ईरान के जो अटैक हो रहे हैं सऊदी अरब के ऊपर, और वो डिस्कस किए गए, और ऐसे मेजर्स डिस्कस किए गए कि भाई कैसे इन अटैक्स को ख़त्म किया जा सकता है। एक ही तरह से कि भाई ईरान को बता दिया जाए कि भाई सऊदी अरब पे अटैक ना करो, अगर तुम करोगे तो हम भी मैदान में उतरेंगे। विद इन द फ्रेमवर्क ऑफ द सऊदी पाकिस्तान स्ट्रेटेजिक म्यूचुअल डिफेंस एग्रीमेंट, जो पाकिस्तान और उसका जो एग्रीमेंट हुआ है उसके फ्रेमवर्क के अंदर, ये सऊदी शहजादे हैं जी, सलमान, मोहम्मद बिन सलमान के भाई हैं और ये डिफेंस मिनिस्टर हैं, तो इन्होंने ये ट्वीट किया हुआ था। सो दिस इज व्हाट सऊदी अरब इज बैंकिंग ऑन। सऊदी अरब ये कह रहा है कि भाई हमें वो मिलेगा, हमें सपोर्ट दी जाएगी पाकिस्तान की तरफ से। अच्छा जी, मुल्ला याकूब साहब क्या कहते हैं? मुल्ला याकूब कहते हैं
as well. Several members of the Wia family were. Kabul is not safe, Islamabad will not be safe either. If Kabul is attacked, Islamabad will be attacked as well. Several members of the Wia family were martyred. In direct response to the actions of one person, we have killed dozens of their military and security personnel. If the war drags on, how prepared are you? If the war lasts for 10 years, we will fight for 10 years as well. And we have no fear at all. Is the presence of the TTP in Pakistan a valid reason for prolonging the war, or is this process being directed by America? Their main issue is the Durand Line. Why is Pakistan so deeply concerned about a politically stable, economically strong, and self-sufficient Afghanistan?
The government of Afghanistan, the current system of Afghanistan, and the people of Afghanistan do not want war.
Did they want to call the TTP terrorists to you?
That is a fantasy, an impossibility, and madness.
Even the commandos of the previous government spoke to you about readiness.
A special interview with the Minister of National Defense, Maulawi Muhammad Yaqub Mujahid, tonight at 7 o'clock on Tolo News.
ये पता नहीं कोई एआई से बनाया हुआ, ये इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेशन की भी है, बट Shahran oil depot in Tehran, Iran, as well as other oil installations in the locality were targeted by US and Israeli strikes today. Large fires can be seen burning at a number of facilities. Operation Epic Fury is now in its second phase as joint US-Israeli strikes target the wider Iranian industrial sector. इसराइल ने अब जी ईरान के ऊपर अटैक करना शुरू कर दिया, ईरान की ऑयल फैसिलिटीज़ पर अटैक करना शुरू कर दिया। ये आप देख सकते हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा शदीद आग जल रही है तेहरान में। शहरान ऑयल डिपो इन तेहरान पे अटैक हुआ है और बड़ा एक बर्निंग, बहुत बड़े बड़े फ्लेम्स हैं। तो आप देख लें कि ये हालात चल रहे हैं, लड़ाई झगड़े चल रहे हैं दुनिया के। तो प्रोफेसर साहब क्या कहते हैं?
We think it's all real, but it's all an illusion. Okay? And the people behind the fire, pulling the strings, they're the real power. The United States, Russia, China, this war between the United States and Iran, that's all an illusion meant to distract you from trying to turn over and figure out what's really going on behind the scenes. Okay? And that is a challenge for us as human beings, to not be lied into this conflict before us. We think that, okay, it really matters who wins, the United States or Iran. It doesn't really matter. It really matters if Israel becomes an empire or not. It doesn't really matter. It matters if BRICS is successful or not. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. What matters is our understanding of the world. What matters is our desire, our courage to seek the truth, no matter how painful the truth is. That's what matters.
सुन लिया जी, आप देखो कह रहा है कि भाई क्या मैटर करता है? ये मैटर नहीं करता कि इजराइल ईरान को शिकस्त दे दे। ये इस बात से फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता कि इजराइल एम्पायर बन जाए। इस बात से फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता कि ब्रिक्स एक नया ट्रेडिंग ब्लॉक, एक नया पॉलिटिकल मल्टीलेटरल ब्लॉक बन जाए ग्लोबल सतह पे। फ़र्क इस बात से पड़ता है कि आपको सच का पता है या नहीं, क्या आपकी कॉन्शियसनेस ओपन है या नहीं, क्या आपको दुनिया के बारे में, जो दुनिया के अंदर जो इल्यूजन्स हैं, ये दुनिया के अंदर जो फसाड है, क्या आप उसके सी थ्रू कर सकते हैं, क्या आप देख सकते हैं कि उसके पीछे क्या हो रहा है? तो ये बातें जी प्रोफेसर साहब कह रहे हैं। ट्रम्प क्या बोलता है?
To welcome distinguished heads of state from across the Western Hemisphere for the first Shield of the Americas Summit. And it's something very, very special. Marco's been working on it very hard, so have a lot of other people, because it's a very important place for us. It's nice to be home.
Wall. And that's the reality that we live in today.
It's very, very important. You know, we go all over the world, 9,000 miles away, 12,000 miles away. I said, how long is this flight? Sir, this flight is 19 hours. I said, oh, that's great. I said, now I have flights that last for 2 hours. I like that better. Much better. But on this historic day, we come together to announce a brand new military coalition to eradicate the criminal cartels plaguing our region. And you have a lot of it. One of the things when we were talking backstage, you were telling me the crime, the cartels, and we're knocking the hell out of them where we can. We're going to go heavier. You saw what we were doing with the boats coming in. The boats, there's not a lot of people coming in by boats anymore. We knocked down drugs coming in by sea. Drugs coming in through water is down 96%. We're trying to find out who the other 4% are, because I think they're the bravest people in the world. Either that or they don't watch television, right? They're either very brave or they're not watching. But we're calling this military partnership the America's Counter Cartel Coalition. And that's what you need. You have cartels. They seem to grow in this region unbelievably rapidly. It has to do with drugs largely. Earlier this week here in Miami, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who's right here. Pete, you're fantastic, doing a great job. We're proud of you. And representatives of 17 different nations formally entered this new alliance. The heart of our agreement is a commitment to using lethal military force to destroy the sinister cartels and terrorist networks once and for all. We'll get rid of them. We need your help. You have to just tell us where they are. We have amazing weaponry, as you probably noticed over the last short period of time.
Shield of the Americas. क्या जी? President Donald Trump called the roughly dozen Latin American leaders gathered in Florida his America's Counter Cartels coalition during the inaugural Shield of the Americas summit. So, डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प साहब जो हैं वो कार्टेल्स के खिलाफ जंग शुरू की हुई है इन्होंने, और इसमें वो चाह रहे हैं कि शील्ड ऑफ द अमेरिकाज उन्होंने नया कोलिशन बनाया है जिसमें लैटिन अमेरिकन कंट्रीज़ हैं, उन सबको उन्होंने जोड़ के बनाया और बातें शातें वो करते रहते हैं। ये आपने सुन लिया। अच्छा, ये तो वही आ गया शॉप, ये थी तेहरान के हालात।
There've been a lot of airstrikes here on Tehran today. A lot of the shops here are closed and have been closed since the military confrontation started exactly a week ago. I'd say about 20% of the shops might be open. So what we've done today is we've gone to a couple of shops, spoken to the shopkeepers and also some customers just to see how they're faring.
We are definitely worried about our lives, but we have no other choice. This is my occupation, and it's about providing daily food stuff. We cannot close the shop. We have to go to work, but with fear, while not knowing what may happen.
Well, everyone is scared. Those are bombs. It's no joke. When there's a bombing, everyone thinks of how they love their life. I'm not saying we're not afraid. Of course we are. Anyone who says they're not afraid is lying, because every human being values their life.
A drastic decline in customers at this fruit shop as well.
Our sales now are about a quarter or a fifth of what they used to be. 70 or 80% of our customers are businesses. When the war broke out, all of the companies, foreign and Iranian, closed down.
Now, the people here, of course, have already also heard that President Trump has vowed to continue to hit Iran hard, as he put it, as he demands what he calls unconditional surrender, while at the same time, the leadership of this country has said unconditional surrender is out of the question.
ट्रम्प कहता है कि भाई सरेंडर करो, अनकंडीशनल सरेंडर करो, कोई मुज़ाकरात नहीं है, कोई बातचीत नहीं होगी। लीडरशिप कहती है नहीं जी, हम तो अनकंडीशनल सरेंडर नहीं करेंगे, कोई अनकंडीशनल सरेंडर नहीं है।
I can't contain myself and have to express it, but when you say that the Israelis are destroying Beirut, which is, having been to a lot of places in the world, one of the prettiest places on the globe, Beirut is a marvel. It's beautiful. It reminds me, and it's being destroyed by Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. Nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. Sorry, I've been everywhere in that country, and it's true. That the nature of this emerging empire is destructive. And it always seems like beautiful things wind up being destroyed. Europe, right? Beirut, parts of Syria, the holy sites. Parts of Iran are apparently beautiful, totally blown up. This does seem like a war on beauty as well, which next to truth is like, this is not an American perspective, but it's a Christian perspective and a real perspective. It's a global perspective. Beauty is worth preserving. And yet it seems the determined effort of the IDF to destroy beauty. And I just want to say that because I really notice it.
जी, तो टकर कार्लसन साहब कहते हैं कि भाई दिस इज अ वॉर ऑन ब्यूटी, ब्यूटी के खिलाफ जंग हो रही है। एनीवेज, हाय हाय टकर कार्लसन नहीं पूछ।
US and Iran goes way back.
States like these constitute an axis of evil.
If Iran cheats, we can catch them, and we will.
They're a
nation of terror, and we won't put up with it.
It's a complex relationship shaped by years of Western intervention, control over oil, and regional alliances.
The relationship between Iran and America has been rancorous, turbulent, tortuous, really.
And now a new chapter started, with US-Israeli strikes taking out Iran's leader, hundreds of civilians paying the price for ongoing attacks, and now a full regional war.
There is concern about what happens next and where this actually ends.
We're standing on this cliff and peering over the edge and not sure what's going to be there.
So how do we get here? I'm Oliver Nikido Lynham, and this is Sky News Explains.
I believe the reason the Iranian missiles have been so effective in damaging our bases, and boy, have they done a doozy. It is not being reported accurately. They have done a real doozy to these bases. It's because of the fact that the Chinese are providing direct real-time signals intelligence to the Iranians.
Chinese भी signal intelligence.
So we're fighting a proxy war with China right now.
रशिया वाले भी इंटेलिजेंस दे रहे हैं. वॉशिंगटन पोस्ट की कल खबर आई थी, सारे ग्लोबल मीडिया पे खबर आई थी. सो रशिया भी इन्वॉल्व्ड है, चाइना भी इन्वॉल्व्ड है. ग्लोबल पावर्स सारी इसमें डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली इन्वॉल्व्ड हैं, एंड दिस थिंग इज ब्लोइंग अप इन रियल टाइम. अभी क्योंकि ईरान की ऑयल फैसिलिटीज पे भी अटैक हो गया, और हाइफा की जो ऑयल रिफाइनरी है इजराइल में, उस पर भी रॉकेट्स वगैरह मारे हैं. ईरान ने भी उस पर अटैक किया, खैबर शिकन उस पर मारा है. सो जो अटैक्स हो रहे हैं ऑयल रिफाइनरीज को, जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है ऑयल का, उसको जो टारगेट किया जा रहा है, उसका मतलब ये कि नाउ दे आर गोइंग एट द हार्ट ऑफ द लाइक वो रेवेन्यू जनरेटिंग जो दोनों स्टेट्स की वो है, स्पेशली ईरान की जो रेवेन्यू जनरेशन जहाँ से होती है ऑयल, उसको वो स्ट्राइक कर रहे हैं ताकि ईरान की स्टेट को बिल्कुल ही ये रोकते हैं, बिल्कुल ही दे ब्रिंग द ईरानियन स्टेट टू अ हॉल्ट, which they are trying to do. So things are blowing up in real time. Jeffrey Sachs क्या कहता है?
Professor Jeffrey Sachs joins us today to discuss, well, seemingly the unraveling of the world. So thank you very much for coming back on.
These are dramatic moments, no question about it. Absolutely unbelievable.
Well, we are seeing now, though, that we've entered the second week of the war against Iran, and it's, well, the regime change operation is not going as planned, obviously. What do you see being the strategy of the United States now that they failed in the initial objective?
Strategy is a big word when it comes to Donald Trump. I don't think there is a strategy. We don't really know. And of course, at wartime, we will not be told what is going on behind the scenes, but what
Joe Rogan क्या कहता है?
70s, and he equated it to the devil. But he did a radio piece on how to destroy America, the social fabric of it.
Wow!
And it's as though somebody just took America, the social fabric of America from the late 60s to today, and the timeline of the things that he said. It's pretty wicked. It's pretty powerful.
Wow. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of the serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old, I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. Wow. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Wow. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door.
Holy shit.
Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
What year was that?
65, but...
Holy shit.
1965.
That's amazing. 65. Wow. April 3rd, 1965. Paul Harvey nailed it.
Jaw-dropping footage captures America's CRM system firing back at reported drone and missile fire near the U.S. Embassy complex in Baghdad, Iraq. The sound is freaking insane. अच्छा ये क्या है जी? Video shows smoke rising from a Dubai tower after shrapnel damaged the residential building and set a car on fire. Authorities say the debris fell after a missile was successfully intercepted, with one death reported. दुबई पे भी अटैक हुआ जी. पाकिस्तान के बारे में क्या कहते हैं?
Poverty leads to creativity. So when I was in high school in Canada, we played a game called the World Game. In this game, it's very simple. You're put into a team of maybe 4 or 5 players. Each team is assigned a country, like maybe USA, Britain, India, Pakistan, Japan. And then each team is given an envelope. Okay? And then within this envelope, you're given certain resources. And then there's an organization called the World Bank. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to become the wealthiest country in the world. The way you do that is you take your resources and you turn it into commodities that the World Bank buys from you. But to create these commodities, you need resources, right? But different countries will have different resources. So the United States has everything. Okay? And Pakistan is interesting because Pakistan usually gets nothing. There are no resources. But you're allowed to trade with each other, right? So even though you have nothing, you can go to the United States and beg and say, could I please borrow your ruler for today, okay? Then you go to Britain and says, hey, can I borrow your paper for today, okay? Or, hey, I'll come work for you for free, right? You can trade. And so you play this for one day, and it's really interesting what happens, okay? Usually what happens, I'm not saying all the time, but I've seen this happen a lot. At the end of the day, you look at who are the wealthiest countries in the world, what happens is, well, the United States becomes number 1, okay? Why? Because the United States just has everything in the world. It is the wealthiest country in the world. It has just so much resources, okay? But number 2 is interesting. You would think it would be Japan and Britain, but it's actually Pakistan, okay? The country that starts out with nothing at all. Why? Because they're forced to be the most energetic, the most open, and most cohesive. Team members have to go and beg to work for free. Okay? Other team members go and lie and cheat and steal. Okay? They're forced to be resourceful and creative. And that's how the world works, guys. Just because you have the most resources, just because you have the most people, does not mean you'll win the game at the end. What matters is how energetic your people are, how open they are, how resourceful they are. That's what matters. And often, they are open, energetic, and cohesive because they're poor. All right? It's that simple. Pakistan has nothing.
प्रोफेसर साहब कह रहे हैं कि हम पुअर हैं, हम गरीब हैं, पाकिस्तानी गरीब हैं, पुअर हैं, इनके पास रिसोर्सेज नहीं है, इनके पास कोई ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है कि भाई जिसके बेसिस के ऊपर ये खुद को बिल्ड कर सकें। तो ये क्या करते हैं, ये तिजारत करते हैं दुनिया के साथ। ये दुनिया के पास जाते हैं, दुनिया को कहते हैं कि हम तुम्हारे लिए काम करेंगे, हमारे पास ये चीज़ है, तुम्हारे पास वो चीज़ है, तो हम बिजनेस करेंगे। और इस तरह चूँकि पाकिस्तान एक गरीब मुल्क है, पाकिस्तान एक स्ट्रेस्ड मुल्क है, पाकिस्तान की अपने नेबर्स के साथ, अपने हमसायों के साथ दुश्मनियाँ हैं, तो पाकिस्तान के जो लोग हैं वो कोहेसिव हैं, पाकिस्तान की रियासत वो कोहेसिव है, उसके अंदर एक यूनिटी है और वो क्रिएटिव है। वो क्रिएटिव इस तरह है कि उसको पता है कि अगर पाकिस्तान की रियासत क्रिएटिव नहीं होगी, तो पाकिस्तान की रियासत अगर क्रिएटिव नहीं होगी तो वो उसको खा जाएगी दुनिया। तो लिहाजा वो अपने डिफेंस को लेके, अपने सर्वाइवल को लेके, अपने मामलात को लेके बहुत क्रिएटिव है और वो बहुत ही डिप्लोमेटिकली, पॉलिटिकली एंड मिलिटरीली अपने आप को उसने सस्टेन किया हुआ है। और यही चीज़ है कि जो पाकिस्तान को एक एज देती है। यही वजह है कि पाकिस्तान ने अपने वेपन्स, स्ट्रेटेजिक वेपन्स डेवलप कर लिए। तो प्रोफेसर साहब ये कह रहे हैं,
safe, Islamabad will not be safe either. If Kabul is attacked, Islamabad will be attacked as well.
Several members of the Wia family were martyred.
In direct response to the actions of one person, we have killed dozens.
Say is what a lot of people in this country speak for, who I speak for. And I speak for a lot of fucking people. You hear me, you fat asshole?
लोग ट्रम्प पे तपे हैं। ये जी अली लरीजनी साहब हैं, ये क्या कह रहे हैं؟
اونها میخواستن در واقع توی فضای غبارآلود شرایط ایران به کلی به هم بزنن و خواسته حقیقی
Iranian attempt here to try and play on any divisions, any possible gaps and fissures that might emerge between the U.S. on one hand and its GCC partners is simply not working. In fact, what I've been picking up from my various conversations with leaders in the region, it's actually pushing them to close ranks with the United States. We have to be realistic here. It's not like these GCC states have alternatives to the U.S. security umbrella. What we're seeing from Iran is a concerted, clear strategy to try to play on those divisions aren't happening. In fact, I think it's largely backfiring. Many of those states right now are considering revoking the initial limitations that they had placed on U.S. forces operating precisely because they did not want to aggravate Iran and were pushing for a diplomatic solution to the crisis. But now they feel like the Iranians are pressing them and they might not have a choice. Most of military experts that we talk to, certainly here in Washington, D.C., don't see much of an upside, are not encouraging those countries to actively take the fight to Iran.
ये जी इसराइल का आयरन डोम सिस्टम इंटरसेप्ट कर रहा है हिजबुल्लाह के रॉकेट्स को। Footage from Kiryat Shimona in northern Israel shows Hezbollah rockets in the night sky as Iron Dome interceptors attempt to intercept. तो पाकिस्तानी
डेमोक्रेट एक ही आवाज, डेमोक्रेट एक ही आवाज, डेमोक्रेट एक ही आवाज, डेमोक्रेट एक ही आवाज। सबकी आवाज डेमोक्रेट, सबकी आवाज डेमोक्रेट। पत्नियां किधर हैं? आज ज्यादा हो गया। ओए पत्नियां वाला किधर गया? इधर 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 आ देना यार। इधर दो। एक की आवाज, एक की आवाज।
पाकिस्तान के बस नहीं मामलात हैं। चले यार, ये ईरान में वोट RKOT ने VRRKOT। ओके, तुम क्या कह रहे हो? क्या करना? तुम लाइव हो इस वक्त? अच्छा हाँ, YouTube पे। सो यार ठीक है, करो वजू, फिर चलते हैं, जाएं अफ्तारी तो करें यार। न्यूज़ इंसाइडर रिव्यू फीचर MIT's। हाँ, डेरन स्मोगलू आ गया। ये वो इकोनॉमिस्ट है MIT का।
Our conversations, but even more so from the books, I have a sense that political philosophy is not just an inquiry about abstract concepts or even a search for absolute truths, but it's part of an ongoing dialogue with the whole society about how we should organize our lives and what we should value, what we should emphasize, what we should refrain from. And I wanted to just get more from you about how you think of political philosophy, how your political philosophy has evolved, and how you think the whole field can be more targeted for this very important task.
Well, you have it exactly right, Daron. I do think philosophy should make contact with the world. There are some people who, when they hear about philosophy, imagine an activity that resides in the heavens, far beyond the world in which we live. I think philosophy belongs in the city, where citizens gather.
Philosophy belongs in the city where citizens gather. अच्छा जी, ठीक है, चलो जी, ओके जी, मान लिया जी। Despite Israel's denials, video emerges of impacts in Haifa. During the first days of the war, when videos were coming out, Israel was unable to stop all of Iran's missiles in each wave and suffered repeated blows. Suddenly, the censor was introduced and the footage almost completely stopped. But what also stopped were reports of impacts. For some reason, with a now depleted air defense system and destroyed radars, Israel is claiming that it is magically shooting down all of Iran's incoming missiles and most of Hezbollah's. Those that they say weren't shot down, they claim land in the sea or open areas. However, occasionally a video is released to debunk these claims. Conclusion: assume every wave is striking Israeli target directly, but accept that Israel will lie and refuse to allow videos. Despite admitting the loss of multiple tanks and dozens of security incidents along the Lebanon border, they fail to admit a single soldier death. They are just liars. ये कौन लिख रहा है जी? मिंट प्रेस न्यूज़ ने लिखा है।
מהחלומות קדימה. לאחר מכן נראה שרק הכיוון של לאש הגוברת במפרץ. איך להסביר את זה? לא כמו עכשיו, אבל רגע. בקינות. תכף אתה תראה את זה. יאללה, חבר'ה לך.
יאללה, נסיעה טובה. נפלט זה שהגעת.
אבא, אני לפחות עד גיל 40 חי, הנה אני אומר לך את זה מראש. אחרי גיל 40 זה לא יודע מה, זה אני יודע מהחלומות קדימה.
בעזרת השם לארבע.
לא.
Coffins of US soldiers killed in Iran war arrive, Trump salutes. ड्रॉप साइट क्या कह रहा है कि भाई हमारे सब्सक्राइबर्स 7,70,000 नहीं यूनिट 100,000 10,000 लाख 7,07,072 हो गए। काफी सब्सक्राइबर हो गए यार ड्रॉप साइट का। पेड कितने हैं? पेड 16,942 हैं। 17,024 गुड। ये क्या कह रहा है बसाम यूसुफ?
Al-Aqsa Mosque got hit by an Iranian missile. Remember this.
If it was up to me, the last time when they shot hundreds of missiles, I would pretend that one missile came from Iran and shoot it down.
Wallahi, Abasha, if it was up to me, I would spit on your face and pretend it was Iran that did it, but you're not worth it.
Then all the Arabs will go against Iran and it will be the end of the problem. You know, you make them fight with each other.
Also, why that hate? Why do you want us all dead?
Bunch of lunatics.
Lunatics.
תכיר באמת שהקדוש ברוך הוא ברא את העולם. ולמה תמותו בעד ישראל ברא לעם עליכם?
3 oil depots south of Tehran have been targeted by Israeli airstrikes. Image from the scene. Israeli-American strikes tonight have hit the Tond-Guyan oil refinery south of Tehran. What the?
Obsolete military technology that was created after World War II. We are now at the end of the Third Republic. The Third Republic began in 1945. Nothing lasts more than 80 years. There is a technological issue. We have a $14 billion aircraft carrier. The fundamental purpose of aircraft carriers is to keep the sea lanes open. This is the United States inherited this from the British when we took over the British Empire. The whole point of Anglo-American foreign policy is to divide the Eurasian landmass. Make sure that these people don't agree with each other. Make sure that Germany never makes a railroad to Baghdad. Make sure that Germany doesn't have a...
For decades, trying to drag the U.S. into war with Iran. Senator Van Hollen yesterday said he just hadn't found a president stupid enough to be dragged into that war. So he was under, we know that President Trump was under heavy pressure from Prime Minister Netanyahu to strike Iran while it was down, while it was weak. The way that the Israeli Prime Minister, and certainly this is true, describe Iran today is probably at its weakest point from a security and defense perspective, from the perspective of its proxies, and from an economic and internal domestic perspective as well. So the idea...
Guys, हम जा रहे हैं अपनी यार एक बंदा मुझे देख रहा है